Hey everybody, welcome to the Homestead. So we're back, and if you've been paying attention on our Facebook feeds or anything like that, you know we've had quite an adventure over the last week. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to just say, hey, we're back. Thanks for all the support. And we got a lot of emails, so many emails, so many comments that I couldn't even go through them all because it seemed like every time I went back to look at them again, there was so many more. And I tried to go back to try to figure out where I left off. I couldn't find it, and so we've had a lot of well wishes, and thank you everybody for that. It means a lot, and so if you sent a message, we appreciate it. Also, I just thought I'd give you because I posted that story over at Steam It, just kind of giving you the rundown of what happened, just kind of how all the drama played out, and that's over there. And if you want, I'll include a link below for that. But I don't know, it's like there was another struggle that took place there. That I didn't mention in that write-up because it's kind of a story all its own. But I mentioned, as we decided to go ahead and bring Caleb into the emergency room, I turned to Jamie because she was in the back of the truck riding with Caleb, and I said, we're getting ready to head into the Matrix here. Okay, they're going to ask questions. We need to make sure, we have, we have to agree on what we're going to do here because we don't vaccinate. Okay, and we used to vaccinate our oldest. He had a couple of rounds of vaccinations when he was really young, and we think as a result of that he's got allergies, he's got asthma, he's got just a number of things. Not huge deals, but some different things that he struggles with, so we decided we're not doing that anymore for him. We decided we're not doing any more vaccinations back then, and we haven't done any for our youngest son. So they're going to want to know why. So, up until this point, because this is something people ask us a lot, what do you do for a medical? How do you take your kids to the doctor? Catastrophic insurance is not really widely available in this country anymore. It used to be something that you could get just by calling up any provider and be like, I want to get catastrophic insurance. That's the only thing I want to get. It's kind of like going into a restaurant and going onto the menu and say, I want this, I want that, I want that. And medical insurance in this country doesn't work that way. It used to. And I think a lot of people are trying to get back to that, at least I think people in the current administration. I would like to buy catastrophic insurance because it would have helped me tremendously. Normally, for other things, we handle things on ourselves. We have our own medical supplies here. We have our own treatments on things we do. If something is a little bit out of bounds for us, we go to a pay-for-cash urgent care center that's in town, and that we can, the doctor, we've gone there a couple of times for different things. But we pay cash for that doctor, and he's done us well over the years. And so, but when it comes to emergency things like what happened here, it can quickly get out of hand, and it's catastrophic. So that's why they call it catastrophic insurance. So that's what we've been doing. So and people at Caris never, that urgent care place never really cared about the vaccines thing too much. At least they didn't let on that they did. But I think, coming into there, when we got to the first hospital, they didn't really ask us too much about vaccinations. I think they asked us once if we were up, and we said no. They kind of like shrugged it off and went on their way. And they were worried about other things at that point because they knew they had to, he needed treatment right away. So when we got to the next hospital that he was air flighted to, the doctors put up a very united front on vaccines and made it very clear that we should be getting these things and putting a lot of heavy pressure on us. And so this is kind of what I meant about going back into the matrix. We don't do vaccines, obviously, and so I was very adamant about my reasonings to them, and it came to a point in time where it was obvious that the internal bleeding was not getting fixed with Caleb. It was not healing on its own. It was reaching a point of criticalness, so that they had to do surgery. And the surgeon came in and said, "Hey, listen, here's the deal. We're going to do the surgery, but I need you to agree to these 3 vaccines that we're recommending." And I said, well, I don't want to do vaccines. I've made that clear. We're not getting vaccines. I'm like, what if I say no? And he says, well, I think at that point we're going to have to involve family services. And in the room was me, my wife, and 3 other witnesses that weren't family. Okay, just friends there who were helping us. And I said back to the doctor, okay, let me get this straight. What you're saying is that you're not going to operate on my son, an operation that can save his life, unless I agree to get 3 vaccines? And he said, well, I mean, at that point he was, whoa, he had, you know, they're not used to that sort of pushback. He said, well, I wouldn't put it that way, but that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said. And so I think because of that pushback, he kind of relented a little bit. You know, I made it clear to him that my thing is I just want my son to be fixed. I want my son to go through the surgery. Let's, you know, get this done. You know, there's no vaccine that's needed to get that surgery done. Let's get it done. And so after the surgery, basically at that point I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Because I just want to get my son out of the hospital. Let's get the thing done. Let's get out of here, you know. And so after the surgery, he says, well, the vaccines won't have any effect until after 2 weeks after the surgery. So you come back in 2 weeks and we'll give the vaccines. Okay, I'll come back in 2 weeks. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. So, anyway, I think he saw that, you know, I was not going to be a pushover in this, and that if push came to shove, there would be some shoving. And I think that a lot of times they're used to playing on the parents' fears, and, you know, urging them to take the course that they want you to take. And you know, it was amazing because, you know, there was a point in time where I was kind of wavering. I'm like, you know what, maybe we do need these vaccines, you know, and at some point I thought maybe, you know, maybe they may be right. And also at another point I was just like, fine, give them whatever shots you want. I just want to go home. Let's get my son out of here. I'll never come back. But thankfully none of that happened. It just worked out because I think, you know, so many people were praying, and I think that protection was over him. And what was really the kicker were, because I reached out to a number of people who I believe are experts in this, and I said, hey, listen, my son's losing his spleen, you know, vaccines. What's the, and so many people that I had reached out to came back with so much ammo. And not only that, what was really the kicker was so many people in my audience who had lost a spleen based, you know, from an accident or whatever back when they were teens or early preteens or, you know, in their 20s, and they didn't get vaccines and they were fine. They lived their entire life. I mean, most of these people now are in their 50s and 60s, you know, 40s, and they were perfectly fine, and they're not getting vaccines. So, you know, it was people, testimonies like that, people who wrote into me, because most people know from my channel that we don't like vaccines. We're not going to do vaccines. And so they were encouraging me, hey, listen, this happened to me. I did this, such and such. One guy got into an accident in Windermere and, you know, the Lake of the Ozarks, and he lost his spleen, and, you know, just great testimonies like that. Lots of great testimonies. So that was really encouraging. And that really helped me to solidify my position that I was not going to be a pushover. I was not going to be, you know, have the fear played on me by these doctors. And you know, and let me just say this: the doctors, their staff, were excellent. They were completely 100% attentive, and they were completely solely focused on our comfort, on the child's comfort, and the medical care, giving them adequate medical care. And so, you know, in that regard, I had no complaint. It was just that united front in the doctors, from the doctors on the vaccines and pushing it and pushing the fear. That's the issue I had. And to be honest with you, there was even, I think one or two nurses, one nurse especially, who was like, I wouldn't give my kid that vaccine. No way. You know, and so, that really encouraged us as well. So, yeah, it was an adventure, and you know, from the write up that I gave in the Steemit article, and if you've read that, there was a whole other set of drama going on at the hospital that I didn't mention in that article, and it was this, it was the vaccines. You know, what are we going to do about this, and how are we going to put up a united front? So yeah, they want us to come back and get the vaccines. That ain't going to happen. In our state, Missouri and Arkansas, really the Ozarks there. Missouri has religious and medical exemptions for vaccines that you can use, and Arkansas has religious, medical, and personal exemptions for vaccines, meaning that I'm not getting vaccines just because I said so. So that, I mean, that's what it is. So my kid's not getting vaccines because I said so. That's enough in Arkansas, you know. And so legally, the law is on our side when in this regard. And we're so thankful to have a lot of good legislators in Missouri and Arkansas who are pro homeschool, they're pro family, they're pro, you know, giving families the ability to avoid these, you know, medications if they don't want them. It's just amazing that we have this, and I feel so sorry for people who have to live in California, and that's why so many people are leaving California, because they're faced with all of these regulations, and so many people out there know that these aren't healthy and they're causing problems and all kinds of medical issues, and the doctors are just towing, you know, the corporate line from the drug companies, and so it's and you know, I can't really blame the doctors. They've been trained their whole life from early education to only get their knowledge from one source only, and that source is the ultimate source for knowledge and education, and they're not trained to do critical thinking outside the box. Some of the doctors end up doing that, but a lot of them don't. And you know, when you're running these hospitals, you can choose which kind of doctors and what kind of line they're going to toe, you know, on your staff. And so most of the doctors who don't agree with the vaccine line never get into these attending positions at these hospitals because they're not wanted there. Anyway, that was kind of the experience, the drama going on, and you know, they really played on our fear, we felt, for that. But you know, we stood fast and we pushed back when we needed to push back, and I think they're not used to parents doing that. So let me encourage you, if you're of this mindset and you find yourself in your shoes, know the law, know what rights are on your side, know some facts, and just be like, hey, listen, I don't care what you say. I have the final word. And you know, if that's the legal, you know, if that's your legal ability where you live in your state, say, hey, listen, I have the final word, and I said no. Period. Don't even try, and push back on them. They're not used to you pushing back. And if they threaten family services, be like, okay, let's dance, because in my state here, family services has no say on that issue. So I have plenty of exemptions that I can use where I live. Anyway. Well, it's just amazing, I guess, the world we live in, and having to go back to there and just telling Jamie on the way, like, you know, we're going back into the Matrix here, right? So this is kind of some of the things we need to talk about and what we're going to expect and how we're going to handle these. It's good for parents to have that talk before it actually comes time. So. All right, anyway, that's kind of the inside scoop. I have other stuff I want to get to coming up. Now that we're back home, we're getting back into the groove of things. I'm getting back caught up on work. I was out in the garden all day today trying to get caught up there. I have some landscaping I got to get done. I have some peanuts that are growing. I want to show you how these peanuts are growing. First time ever growing them, and they're doing really well. Some things in the garden are not doing so well this year. Some things are doing pretty good. So I think we're going to actually, raspberries are coming in pretty strong. I think we're going to have some good raspberries this year. Blackberries were just abysmal, but now the Japanese beetles have kind of subsided. You know, maybe I just do raspberries every year because they seem to come out after the beetles are gone. And this variety of raspberries I got from Travis Huey out in South Carolina. He gave me these raspberries, and they fruit up until the fall. I mean, they'll start fruiting now. In fact, I already got a few from the bushes earlier on, but they're going to start fruiting again. I see new berries coming on now, and after the pest pressure of the Japanese beetles have gone, and they're going to fruit till the fall. And so it seems like every year I haven't had a very good year with the blackberries because of the beetles. I don't know. Maybe I just do these raspberries. We'll do some videos on that too and show you what's coming up. Got lots of stuff going on. Plus, I want to do a video. Where is it at? Oh, there it is. Check this out. That is, I don't know if you can focus. This is a horrible camera, but that is gold dust. Gold dust. And so I'm going to tell you where I got that, how you can get your own. It's 3 grams. I bought it totally cheaper than spot price. And the guy even included a mercury silver dime with that as well. So I thought that was really cool. We'll do a video on that. Plus, we'll do a panning on another bag of Lynch Mining coming up. And also, I have a new batch of peppers out there I'm growing that are doing phenomenal. I want to share that with you guys as well. So we got lots of homesteading stuff coming up, and we'll share it all with you coming up in the weeks ahead. All right, guys. See you next time on the homestead. Bye.